Maybe you know, science meets the questions you never thought to ask. In a small lab at Caltech in 1962, Michael Gazzaniga held up a flashcard. The patient, a man named WJ, stared straight ahead. On the left side of the card was the word key. On the right, ring. Gazzaniga asked, "What did you see?" "Vujot answered, ring kropka." Then Gazzaniga handed him a basket of objects, hidden from view, and told him to pick what he saw. WJ's left hand reached in and grabbed a key. To understand why anyone would slice a brain in half, you need to picture epilepsy in 1940. Not the manageable kind. The kind where seizures hit 30 times a day. The kind that throws a person to the floor mid-sentence. The drugs of the era barely worked. Patients lived in hospitals or attics. And neurologists noticed something strange. The seizures almost always started on one side of the brain. Then a wave of electrical chaos crossed a thick cable in the middle and consumed the other side. That cable has a name. The corpus callosum. Roughly 4 inches long, packed with around 200 million nerve fibers. It's the main highway between the brain's two hemispheres. Every thought you've ever finished, every memory you've ever stitched together has crossed this bridge. In 1940, a neurosurgeon in Rochester, New York, named William Van Wagenen had an idea no one wanted to hear. Cut the bridge. Stop the wave. The patient survives, the seizures die. He performed the first split brain surgery that year. The patients walked out alive. They seemed normal, but no one yet knew what the surgery had really done. For 2 decades, the surgery sat in a strange limbo. It worked. Seizures stopped. Patients went home. But neurologically, something was off, and no one could prove what. Then in 1961, a young graduate student at Caltech named Michael Gazzaniga walked into the lab of Roger Sperry. Sperry had a hunch. He believed the corpus callosum wasn't just a relay cable. He believed it was the very thing that made you feel like one person. To test it, he needed patience. He found 2 surgeons in Los Angeles, Joseph Bogan and Philip Vogel, who had revived the operation. Their first patient was a man known only as WJ, a World War II paratrooper whose seizures were destroying his life. After the surgery, in 1962, WJ could walk, talk, joke, and recognize his wife. By every measure, he was the same man. But Sperry and Gazzaniga didn't trust the surface. They built a strange table, a tachistoscope, a device that could flash images to 1/2 of the visual field for less than 1/10 of a second. They sat WJ down and turned it on. Here's the wiring trick that turned that table into a window. When your eyes look forward, anything to the left of center goes to the right hemisphere. Anything to the right goes to the left. It's not about the eye. It's about the field. A flash of a key on the left side of a screen lands in the right brain. A flash of a ring on the right lands in the left. In a normal person, this doesn't matter. The corpus callosum stitches both halves into one experience in milliseconds. But cut that bridge, and the two hemispheres go silent toward each other. Now, add another quirk. In most people, language lives almost entirely in the left hemisphere. The right hemisphere can see, recognize, even understand simple words, but it generally cannot speak. So if you flash a key only to the right brain of a split patient, the left brain, the one running the mouth, has no idea a key was shown. Ask the patient what they saw, and the left brain answers honestly. Nothing. Or worse, it answers something wrong, like ring, because the right side of the screen happened to show that. And that's where the floor falls out. Because while the left brain confidently said ring, Sperry watched WJ's left hand, the one wired to the right brain, slip under a curtain and pull out a key. The mouth said one thing. The hand did another. Both belonged to the same person. Or did they? In trial after trial, the pattern held. Show a happy face to the left visual field, and the patient's left hand would point to a smiley card while the patient verbally insisted they hadn't seen anything. Show the word walk to the right brain, and the patient would stand up and walk out of the room. Ask why, and the left brain would invent a reason. I wanted a Coke. The right hemisphere wasn't broken. It was awake, paying attention, making decisions. It just couldn't speak. For the first time in history, scientists were looking at evidence that inside one human skull, behind one face, there might be two centers of awareness, two streams of experience, two beings sharing a body, who no longer knew each other was there. The most famous evidence came from a teenager known as PS for Paul S. Unlike most split-brain patients, his right hemisphere could read a few words and spell answers using Scrabble tiles. In a 1978 experiment at Dartmouth, Gazzaniga flashed two different images. To Paul's left brain, a chicken claw. To his right brain, a snowy winter scene. Then he laid out a row of small cards on the table and asked Paul to point to a matching card with each hand. His right hand picked a chicken. His left hand picked a shovel. Then Gazzaniga asked Paul to explain his choices. Paul looked at the chicken claw and the shovel, paused, and said, "Oh, that's simple. The chicken claw goes with the chicken, and you need a shovel to clean out the chicken shed." His left brain had no idea about the snow, so it built a story that fit what it could see. Across hundreds of trials, with patients VP, JW, and Vicky, the same pattern kept appearing. The left hemisphere, the talking one, was inventing reasons it didn't actually have. Confidently, effortlessly, Gazzaniga gave it a name. The interpreter. Then it got stranger. In one of Gazzaniga's most haunting sessions, he asked Paul S. a simple question, one half of the brain at a time. What do you want to be when you grow up? He spelled out the question to the left hemisphere. Paul's mouth answered a draftsman. Then he flashed the same question to the right hemisphere. Paul's left hand reached for the Scrabble tiles. Slowly, it spelled race car driver. Two hemispheres, one body, different futures. And then there was Vicky. Years after her surgery in the late 1970s, she described a phenomenon doctors now call alien hand syndrome. Her left hand had a mind of its own. While she dressed for the day, her right hand would pull on a blouse, and her left hand would yank it off. While shopping, she would reach for a can of soup, and her left hand would grab a different one and refuse to let go. She wasn't pretending. She wasn't acting. She was, by her own description, fighting with herself in the cereal aisle. The bridge had been cut, and whatever lived on the other side did not always agree with her. Here's the part that should keep you up at night. The interpreter Gazzaniga discovered isn't just a quirk of split-brain patients. It's running in your skull right now. Every time you reach for your phone without remembering deciding to, every time you snap at someone and immediately invent a reason for it, every time a craving feels like a thought, your left hemisphere is doing what Paul's did. It's narrating decisions it didn't actually make. In 2008, neuroscientist John Dylan Haynes ran an experiment in Berlin where subjects pressed a button with their left or right hand whenever they wanted. Brain scans predicted their choice up to 7 seconds before they were aware of choosing. 7 seconds. The conscious eye that thinks it's in charge is often the last to know. The split-brain patients didn't lose a self. They revealed how the self was built in the first place. Not as a single voice, but as a coalition. A talking hemisphere that takes credit. A silent hemisphere that often acts first. And a story, told in the present tense, that smooths it all into one seamless person who you are very sure is you. Go back to that lab in 1962. WJ, the paratrooper, the man whose seizures had ended, sitting at a wooden table, holding a key in one hand he didn't remember picking, while his mouth confidently told Michael Gazzaniga he had seen a ring. He wasn't lying. He wasn't broken. He was, in some sense, two people. One who saw the key. One who only knew the word ring. Both real. Both him. Roger Sperry won the Nobel Prize for this work in 1981. He spent the rest of his life arguing that consciousness was not one thing, but a community. The next time you catch yourself explaining why you did something you don't quite remember choosing, listen carefully. There's a chance the answer your mouth gives and the truth your hands already knew are not the same. Next time on Maybe You Known, we go deeper into one of the strangest minds inside your own skull. The right hemisphere, the silent one. We'll meet patients who could draw flawless landscapes they couldn't describe, recognize faces their left brain forgot, and feel emotions their voice denied. If you've ever felt like a stranger to yourself, you're going to want to be there. Thanks for watching. If this sparked a question, drop in the comments. It might be your next video. We'll see you next time.